I have been in this week of illness, just plagued by the ABH palette, and I am just built up with so many things to say because, like many of you, I was waiting for Stephanie Nicole to come out with her moment of truth, and like many of you, we were let down. We just were let down. And so I'm here to say what Stephanie Nicole did not say, what we thought she was going to say, and what she didn't say. And frankly, some other people that we trusted, what we thought they were going to say and what they didn't say. Now, as to the reason why they didn't say these things, I swear to God, I have no clue. I mean, I have some ideas, but I don't know them. I have no clue about the things going on in the background. I could make guesses, and they would just be total conjecture. And I really don't know. I don't know what made the change. I'm sure it has to. I'm sure there's gossip. I'll let the gossip channels take care of that. Go have fun. But I'm here to say what Stephanie Nicole did not say. So let's get down to it. Stephanie Nicole said that she has a problem with companies only when they commit fraud and things like that. And in my opinion, I think that ABH did commit fraud. I believe, and I think all of us believe, they committed fraud because they said that this was the sister palette to the Modern Renaissance palette. I think they said that because the Modern Renaissance was the #1 best-selling palette of all time. And they knew that just by tagging it next to the best-selling palette of all time, they knew it would sell out like that. They could have taken anything in the world and attached it to that name and sold it, and it would have sold like hotcakes. And they knew that it would cost you money to send it to them back, like to mail it in. They knew that you would be hesitant to mail it back in because it would cost you money. You already paid shipping to take it out, and they knew that you would most likely hold on to it. They factor that in. I'm tired of hearing people say, oh, they lost so much money on people returning 1,500 palettes. Are you kidding me? I'm so tired of hearing people talk about makeup brands like they're broke. I'm so tired of hearing people talk about makeup brands like, oh, it's the packaging that makes them expensive. No. I love that Jackie Ina video where she's with her boyfriend, fiance, whatever, and he's going through the makeup products where she hasn't guessed the prices. And he's like, I know how much it costs to make this. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm in the wrong industry. It is not to us that much. They charge what they know you'll pay. They charge what they know you will pay. It's a perception. They put a perceived value on it. So it's not like they're losing a ton of money. They're doing just fine. So first of all, to me, they just took a palette for whatever reason, whether they're selling it or whatever, but they did not make a palette that was truly the sister palette to the Modern Renaissance. It was not the same formula. If you look at the back, if you compare, just take the backs of the two and stick them up next to each other. Not even remotely the same ingredients. I wouldn't even, like they've said, like the pros have said, they're pressed pigments. Here is my point. Here's what we wish Stephanie Nicole had said. How many of us own pressed pigments? How many of you own a palette of pressed pigments? How many of us own 30 palettes of pressed pigments? No, none of us. Oh God, I have so many pressed pigments. No, numero uno. A pressed pigment palette is not equal or as widespread of a market as the Modern Renaissance is. It's not that big of a market. It would not sell to nearly as large of a market. And that's why they didn't sell it that way. They didn't market it that way. They just took whatever product they decided to throw together. It seems to me like they rushed it. It seems to me like they cheapened it. I can't imagine anything but money being the reason that they didn't bother. And this is the other thing. People saying, oh, the lab screwed over them then. I guarantee you, there were people in the lab saying, crap will go down if you send this out. Don't send it out. Don't send it out. Don't send it out. And they were like, oh, they'll take it anyway. Because you guys put up with so much crap. You guys buy so much crap. We have entire drama channels. We have an entire new segment of YouTube dedicated to drama because the makeup companies do so many horrible things to you guys, and you still give them your money. You still sink your heart and soul. Some people beg, borrow, and steal and do horrible things to be able to afford these makeup products that aren't worth the money, that never live up to expectations. And in the end of the day, none of us can use that many palettes. Like, none of us can use that much makeup. Tell me how many people have hit pan on all of these palettes. Like, it's just impossible. No one needs that much makeup. No one needs that much makeup. No one. No one. So they took a palette that in reality, even if it was pressed pigments, if it was pressed pigments and they had marketed it, it would have been a pro palette of pressed pigments. And you know that you wouldn't have bought that. A palette of pressed pigments. That's number one. Because you know pressed pigments are hella hard to work with. Pigments are hard to work with, as we have all seen. So number one, it's not for the general public, but they are selling it. That's why I think it's fraudulent, because they took pressed pigments and they sold them as equal to the Modern Renaissance palette and just said they're different colors. It's the Modern Renaissance, but it's a sister. It's the same thing. It's not. That's fraudulent. That's fraudulent in my opinion. And then other pros turn around and just say, oh, well, they're pressed pigments. That's a different product. That's a different product. That's a different product entirely. That's a JIP. If we wanted pressed pigments, tell us it's pressed pigments. Pressed pigments are clearly for pros. Only the pros knew, ooh, these are pressed pigments. Okay, number two. No one should have to learn the color wheel in order to use a palette. Number three, sorry. I should not have to worry about mixing two of the colors on the palette. Like, you got to know the color wheel so that you don't mix these two. That's it. That's it. If I need to know if you have a palette that automatically two of the colors are going to become charcoal gray, that's a bad palette. That's a bad palette. They should have chosen different colors. So disappointing that Stephanie Nicole was like explaining, she was defending. If you listen to it, it was like a lawyer defending the shadows all the way up until she says she doesn't recommend the palette. I was like, this is like a defense team. Like, I felt like I was on speech team and debate again, listening to a defense, just defending it and going step by step. And I was like, what is going on here? Because I was just like, I do understand. Like, I don't know why people kept tapping 3 times when it got too much product. I'm like, then tap once. Stop it. Stop it. Like, Jeffree Star kept tapping 3 times. He knew to tap once. He was doing it on purpose to make a video, to create drama for show. That's what he does. But people didn't need to tap 3 times. Like, I would have known after the first time, all right, tap once. Like, that's common sense. But still, even so, even on top of that, we still can't mix some of the colors. Like, I got to learn the color wheel to know which colors I cannot match. And I'm like, that's it. They've done a bad job. They've done a bad job of picking colors. If I can't mix, if I've got to know and remember, wait, I cannot mix these 2 colors. I have to keep them separate on my eye. Are you kidding me? Bad palette. Bad choices. Bad colors. Bad formulas. Worst palette ever. And it is amazing to me. You know what? For all the reviews that are out there, I'm now hearing the boat turn. And people are starting to hate on the haters and saying, oh, they're doing it just for show. And I'm like, even the haters aren't that bad. Like, even the haters are just being so nice about the palette. Like, they're like, I really want to love it. No one's actually getting angry at Anastasia Beverly Hills and saying, why the hell did you do this to us? Like, I am out $42 and I'm out the shipping to send this back to you. Stop giving me several different answers. And then here's another thing that really hurt from Stephanie Nicole, saying, I don't think her answers were rude. It's the way I talk. Stephanie Nicole isn't a brand. She's a YouTuber. She's a personality. It's okay for Stephanie Nicole to talk that way. It's not okay for a brand to talk that way. A brand that is sold in Sephora and in Macy's, a brand can't talk that way to customers. We are not paying Stephanie Nicole $1,000 every year in makeup. If things turned around, like Stephanie, if things were turned around, if we were her customers, it would be a very, very, very different thing. That's her job, is to talk. That's why we come to her for snarky comments. If we are a customer, if you're a brand, you can't talk that way. You can choose to, but it's unprofessional. Like, I taught customer service for years, and I'm like, that's terrible customer service. Terrible. And then on top of that, they are giving out different stories every time. And I'm like, it sounds like alcoholism to me. I mean, it's just like, I know the only people I know who change their stories like that are alcoholics. Like, that just, they think it's okay and normal to just keep changing the story. And you guys just keep going with it. You keep accepting the story and being like, it's all right to lie to us again and again and again, and being like, they're such a great brand though. No, you guys, they really, really messed up here. Like, they didn't mess up a little bit. They messed up a lot. They took a lot of money for you. $42 is a lot for a palette. It's a lot for, here is the lie that everyone tells you, is that, wow, if you break it down, it's $12 for a single shadow. And if you break it down, it's only this much, $3 per shadow, and you're saving a lot. Who uses all of the shadows in their palette? You tell me. How many of you use every single palette in a palette when you buy it? That's not true. You don't use all of the shadows in your palette. It's such a lie when we break it down and we go, oh, it's grams. Really think about the palettes you get, guys, in all these grams and how much you're paying per gram. And I'm like, really? You guys really need to start thinking about, just start thinking, instead of how much you're paying per gram, start thinking about how much you actually use this makeup that you're getting and how often you hit pan. Not just how often you hit pan, but how often you hit pan on how many of the shadows in that palette. If you hit pan on all of the shadows in a palette, then, like, consistently and regularly, then you can pay attention to those statistics they give you. But if not, then hell yeah, $12 for a single shadow is going to be a better idea than paying $42 for a palette. Like, you guys, it's just, this company is crapping all over you guys, and it's going to be a blip. I can just tell it's going to be a blip, and you're going to be over it, and you're going to be over on to the next thing. And I hope and implore you guys that this is a learning lesson, that the next time a launch comes out, you wait. Instead of being the first person in line and being like, I want to be able to review it before everybody else, I want to be on the bandwagon, just wait. Let somebody else, it will be reviewed. Let somebody else who gets it in PR, let them get it, let them see it, see if it's a disaster. Everyone's paid these days. Like, everyone's paid off. And I know it's hard to get an honest review out there anymore, but there are people you can get honest swatches out there if you dig for them. And you can generally see, like, if it really adds up or not. And I know you can do it. And I really implore you to just wait. Have the patience to just wait a little bit. Because I know that you would have saved $42 plus shipping. Like, I mean, think about how much money you would have saved on Kim Kardashian. Like, on that. $60 if you had just waited. And you could have been like laughing at your friends who got that thing. It looks like a Barbie doll thing that somebody cut in their Barbie doll package. It's just such a joke. And everyone's like, I can't believe she charged us and gave us this kind of packaging, because she knew you guys would take it and you'd still buy it, and she still sold out. These makeup companies are not trying to make you happy. They are doing the least of what they can do because they know you'll pay for it. Stop paying for it. Stop paying for it. Start waiting. Hold on to your money just a little bit longer and hold ABH to account. Now they're saying, oh, we wanted to make a pro palette for the pros. They're saying that because it's only the pros coming out and saying, oh, it's pressed pigments. I get it. They're formulating that answer to what is being positive out there. It would have been a different answer based on if it was a different community that said they loved it. They would have, made the answer that. And they didn't apologize for their terrible customer service. And the way they handled, and that's what's really interesting, is Stephanie Nicole did not address, how ABH handled all the other things. She only addressed one statement that ABH made. One statement. She didn't address, how ABH handled the higher YouTubers, the ones with more followers than the lower ones. She didn't even address that. That was a huge dichotomy. And it was terrible. Kissing their butts and then being shameful to the other ones. I mean, she didn't even address that. And it was just heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the company that she works for and she does it. It'll hurt her job. Let's hope and pray for that one. Because I still want to believe in her. Maybe that's the way people feel about ABH. But ABH is, Stephanie's never taken my money. That's the bottom line. So I feel like I can go ahead and trust and believe in her, with less of a loss. That's okay. But ABH, no way, man. I would be holding your coin. I'd be holding on to it. And it is okay to be mad at a cosmetics company for screwing you over. They screwed you guys over. And they're not saying sorry. They're not saying sorry. They are saying everything but sorry. They're blaming it on the customers and there are so many other ways to handle this. And they're not saying sorry. I don't even think pressing it again is going to help. It's just looking at the ingredient comparison between Modern Renaissance. That alone, you just take Modern Renaissance, take the back boom, and then you take this new palette, Subculture, and you put the two on the back, and I'm like, how dare you ever? How dare you ever? And that's the thing, is Stephanie Nicole is big about ingredients. And she never compared the ingredients other than talc versus this. And I was just like, she acted like there were just two ingredient differences. And she never talked about the fact that the ingredient list was this for Modern Renaissance and then this for Subculture. Never addressed it. Never even went close to it. And I was like, oh my God. The most thorough woman on YouTube. And it just hurt. And that hurt. And I don't know why. And so I'm making this video for the rest of you out there who are feeling like they never got their voice heard. This is for you guys. I'm with you. I'm out there with you. I'm feeling the same exact way. This is what we wish she had said. I'm feeling it too, and it's shameful what they did, and they did commit fraud. Absolutely. They said it would be a palette that was one way, and it so was not. And they have the ability to do it too. We know they have the ability to do it. Hell, they've done fudge before. They know how to do eyeshadows, yet they chose not to. They chose not to. They cut corners. And don't tell me, oh, they did a new formula. They did not advertise it that way. I can't believe other people are like, oh, it's just this. It's a pressed pigment. They didn't advertise it that way. Great, you know how to use it. Nobody else does. Oh, you mean we have to learn the color wheel? It is being sold in Sephora. I am just imagining all these young kids, all these moms going up and buying it for their kids for Christmas, buying it for their kids because it's out there in Sephora, and they think it's equal to everything else in Sephora. They think it's just user-friendly for the world. And it's not. It's going to destroy their clothes. It's going to destroy their beds. It's going to run out. It's going to be a disaster. They're not going to know how to use it, and they're going to have to learn how to use it, and then they're not going to be able to mix half of it. It's going to be an utter mess, an utter disaster, and it's going to sit in the corner. It's going to be $42 of wasted money in an America that doesn't have money. That's shameful. That's fraudulent. I do think that's a problem. So I'm saying it. Peace out, people. I love you. Bye.